Hi, I'm Peter Russo, and we're here for the 101 Small Business Mastermind podcast, and we're minus one of our normal people, but we'll carry on the best we can. And we have Dick Bentley. Dick, say good morning, Dick.
Good morning.
And Mark Giordino. Good morning, Mark.
Hey, good morning, everybody. How are you?
Good, good, good. Okay, so we're going to start. It's going to be kind of an interesting, eclectic podcast today, but we have some really cool stuff to teach. Basically, well, my first topic is I want to talk about Aweber, and Aweber is a. Let me share my screen. There we go, right there. Aweber is a phenomenal program. On the front page, in a many pages of a website, you ought to be having what we call an opt-in list. Opt-in means that people opt into your list, that they want you to send them stuff. Aweber is really great because it can actually, in fact, I should actually navigate myself over there. It can actually, in fact, do some phenomenal stuff. And in this case, I have a number of websites from 101 Marketing Podcast all the way to Vision 1 Golf where I have people actually opt in. And these opt-in forms, you make these forms, and let's just look at this small business sign-up form here really briefly, if everybody can see that. Can you all see the little sign-up form here?
Yes.
Okay. Basically, you can construct these. And what happens is you put them on a website, and matter of fact, I can go over to our website, but basically these forms are put on the front page. And what you tell people, gee, sign in for my newsletter and special tips or tricks or whatever, and then suddenly you start to build a list. So here, for example, are my subscribers, and I have in just this one list I only have 5 subscribers for our small business mastermind. If I come over to the Defender site, you'll see that I have far more, and I have 629 subscribers. Now, why is this important? Well, what you want to do is to build a rapport. It's kind of like social media in a way. You want to build a rapport with people who are interested in what you have to offer. Basically, when people opt in, they're actually opting in for you to sell them something. They want to be sold. You don't go around like we've known people in the past and just grab people's emails and stick them in a newsletter or a chain letter. People don't appreciate that at all. It's really a no-no these days. And so basically what you want to do is to get people who want to hear what you have to say. Now, it isn't just for a newsletter, for example, but the interesting thing is you can immediately send out what we call a broadcast. And in the broadcast, it goes to everybody. And I know people that have got 10, 20,000 people on a list. So say you want to make a special, people buy it for $5.95, you put that out over 10 or 20,000 people, and because these are opt-in people, their purchasing rate, or conversion rate we like to say, is far higher than just people coming off the website. It can be up to 30 to 50% of the people will take that opportunity. So it's a phenomenal opportunity to make money, sell your people, but even more importantly, this is a really big thing to wrap your head around. You can create sales letters that go out after people sign up, okay? And so when they sign up, I give them a newsletter and an email. And then 4 days after that, I tell them about my Defender Starter Kit, which is a self-defense tool. 7 days after that, they get a next up on the deck, and we talk about whatever. A week later, they get something else. A week after that, they get something else. A week after that, they get something else until I've touched them, in this case, 13 times. And it's amazing, and you can see, well, 71% of the people open the first email, 72 the second one, 64 the third one, 57 the fourth one, 61. But you see, we're hanging in the 50s and 60s. Half of your list are opening these things. And in this one is particular how to handle multiple attackers, free PDF. 61% of my particular genre of individuals open that. So what I do is I send out 3 informational pieces and then 1 special offer, and then 3 more informational pieces, 1 special offer. And what happens is you can really boost your sales and your connectivity with your clients with Aweber and opt-in forms. You can design your own sign-up forms, and then they give you the code to actually embed them directly into your website, and you're off and running. So it's a wonderful way to build a list, to connect to your people, send out newsletters, do like what social media talks about. What Mark and I always say, it's a conversation, stupid. Right, Mark?
Conversation, stupid.
It's conversation, stupid. And so basically this is a wonderful way to literally boost your sales and your connectivity and build your brand. Now let me get back over here, and we're going to stop sharing. Okay, so interested on that. Before I go any further, does anybody have any question? Oh, morning, Bruce. I didn't see you there, buddy.
I snuck in. It took a while for me to load up.
That's okay. We're all experiencing great technical difficulties today, to include Frank's not with us today, too. So does anybody have any question on Aweber?
Well, can I make a comment, Peter?
Of course, of course.
Now, what this tool does, it increases our conversion, like you're saying. Because what's the basic conversion rate off the internet? Maybe 1 to 2% if you're lucky?
Yes.
Okay, now this is the next step for a great conversion with that tool. When you say that increases your conversion rate, it's like a next step from the 1 to 2%.
Absolutely, and I think the marvelous part of this, I mean, this would be great too for you, Bruce. I mean, there's got to be a lot of people who may not buy right off the bat, but they want to get connected to you, and you want to be able to sell them slowly. You know, it's a marvelous tool to really help you increase your business on the web. There's no doubt about it. Constant Contact does a similar thing, although I don't use them. I like Aweber. That's just because I'm familiar with them, but they all do that same thing. But you know, most people just think of it as a list that you blast out to. That hidden sales letter concept, those messages that they get on increments, phenomenal tool. And you don't do anything. You don't have to worry about it. It does it all for you. It's just a great tool like that. So that's Aweber. Next thing I want to talk about.
Sorry, one more thing. It's a great follow-up, Peter. It's a great follow-up.
It's a conversation, stupid, isn't it?
Yeah, it sure is. I love it. It is.
You know, Mark, we're going to have to get T-shirts made that way. It's a conversation, stupid, on the front, social media on the back.
Yeah.
So,
I like
yeah, exactly.
Cool.
So the next piece of the puzzle, okay, this is heading into something that Dick and I are going to talk about, is it is critically important to have video on the front page of your site. People just simply like to watch. They don't want to read. And hands down, you got to get some video on your site. Now, Dick and I just started a whole new business last week, and we're the CoachellaValleyPodcast.com, where we're going to go out, and this is going to tie into our networking in a minute, we're going to go out and we're going to use a Google Hangout and go to chambers, essentially start down their membership list, whoever wants to come on board and have a free video, that we're going to do an interview that goes up on the chamber site if they want it. It certainly goes up on the member site. I'm sure they're going to want it, which goes to answer the question, can you get video on your site? Well, we're going to help do that with these podcasts, and then of course it's going to go over on our site so people have a one-stop shop to go understand what's offered in Coachella Valley. And on these podcasts, it's going to tell their story. So we're taking Mike Taylor's native language press releases to the video version of that, and I've essentially been doing that since about 2004, but Dick and I are going to interview people to tell their story about their business. And Bruce, you know, when you were on with our as a guest, you know, you got a great story to tell. People want to hear that stuff. And so we're going to be able to do that for everybody. So if you don't have video on your site, figure out a way to get video. Send me an email, I'll help you, whatever, but get video on your site. All right, now I want to jump over here if I can.
If I can interrupt, Palm Desert
Oh,
also
yes.
has that feature. The Chamber of Commerce of the PDA, Palm Desert area also has free videos for you.
That they do themselves?
I'm not quite sure whether it's a subcontractor. They do it themselves. They have the ability for any member of the chamber to go and get a video that will appear on the the PDA CFC website.
Okay, we've got 3 chambers and 1 Rotary landed inside of 3 days, so we'll see what happens.
Okay.
You know how that works. Yeah, that's good news. I mean, that's good information. Let me see. I am not seeing what I want here. Why am I not seeing what I want here? Sign up forms. Because I don't have it over on this side of life. Let me see if I can get over. Okay. Let me. I'll stay on camera, but I want to read something. There's a letter that came out, basically, and it seems like I don't have it now. Let me go back over here. Hang on. Give me 2 seconds. There it is. Right there. Okay, it was over here. Basically, there was a letter that came out, and it really is how social media killed my business. Basically, this gentleman, he says, once upon a time, he used to have an online business, and it was seriously kicking it out there. Money was rolling in every minute of the day. I could do anything I wanted. I didn't have to do anything, had a care in the world. My life was totally amazing. It was better than anyone has ever seen before. Everybody was jealous. I had made it. I had a ton of websites that were constantly bringing in a boatload of traffic, sales every day. My business was running like a well-oiled machine. My system was flawless. I had mastered it. It was to the point where all I had to do was write some content each morning and build some backlinks in the evening. The rest of the time I did whatever I want, and the money just kept pouring in. But then something happened. My life slowly started falling apart. My businesses were failing. I couldn't control it. There was nothing I could do. It was a habit. No, I wasn't addicted to anything. It just wasn't working anymore. My online business was ruined and gone forever. I was totally there with no help. Nobody knew a cure. And what was it? Social media hit him. And looking back, he had just gone the general route of making money, but basically social media and all his everybody else kicked in. And then he had to start looking at Facebook, and Twitter popped up, and he's talking on about LinkedIn, YouTube, Dig, Delicious, Reddit, Stumble Upon, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. There's a bunch of them. And he knew what he had to go do, but it was too late to catch up. And now he says, unfortunately, my business is long since gone, and I had to face the conversation with everybody since I didn't know where it went. But basically, social media had killed him, and he was sleeping. And that's an important part that we keep trying to tell everybody is building a website is one thing, but you've got to embrace social media. And again, it's a conversation, stupid, not a sales pitch on your social media. So I wanted to bring that part up. That's so very important to get that social media content going for your site. And remember that every social media is like a foreign country. They have their own language and their own culture. Like Twitter has 140 characters, that's all you get. On a blog, you want more information and video if you can get it. On Blogger, for example. Facebook, you want to post stuff that's interesting. If you can post a picture or a video, it's watched all the time. Although Facebook is getting beat up a little bit. If you've been over to Facebook lately, you'll see videos automatically play, but the audio doesn't. Well, if you're on a mobile device, that's eating up your bandwidth. That's eating up your data. And people are getting big data charges by cruising on Facebook. And Facebook automatically launches those videos, so that's eating up your data line. But anyway, I digress. It's all very important to embrace social media. And Dick, how many people do you have you checked your Twitter or your Blogger feed? How many people you got tracking with you now?
Well, Twitter, I'm about 550. My bloggers, it's runs a little over 100, and the Twitter is growing every day. And I just like to make the comment. I would say it was probably last May, maybe. I had maybe 5 Twitter followers, and in talking with Peter about it's a conversation, stupid. I realized that I was being stupid. I would get these people liking things or retweeting things and all, and I would just say hey, to myself, that's nice. I never responded back. Once I started conversation stupid, it became my Twitter followers are going, like I say, well over 500, and I probably had 4 or 5 a day because I'm embracing the conversation part of it, and I respond to every tweet. Thanks for following me or whatever. I retweet things now, and I like things, and all of a sudden people want to follow you. So living testament that it is a conversation stupid. So
Yeah, no kidding. All
yeah.
right, so that's kind of my social media article. It was kind of interesting to see. And then I wanted to talk about something a little bit esoteric this morning at my 5 o'clock lesson on the web. I was working with a martial artist type building these video things that I did for the Marine Corps, which are pretty incredible, and it takes in learning styles. And how do we apply learning styles to networking? Well, there are 5 types of learning styles in our brains. There are visual learners, there are kinesthetic learners, there are audio learners, then there are digital learners and switchable learners. And I'm going to cover the top 3 and how they can help you, if you understand them, how they can help you in networking. A visual learner is a person talks really quickly, and they almost seem schizophrenic. I'm like one of those guys, and I can do a lot of things, and I talk real quick, and I have multiple ideas going on in my mind, and I'll actually finish your sentences for you as you're talking, which frustrates the heck out of people. But visual learners are like high speed. They're like on crack or something. We're just really, really moving, okay? Kinesthetic learners, on the other hand, they're slower speech, usually monotoned, and they have a sense of feel for things. They really get upset with people that start talking as fast as I do. It's like, Jesus, slow down, too much coffee. And so kinesthetic learners are people that learn by a sense of feel or emotion. Aural people are people that listen. They learn by your sentence intonation and how you're speaking to them. And so if you have something you're trying to sell, that this is an important point that you really have to understand, and that gives them the audio cues. That's the learning part. So that's how people are hardwired in their brain. How we figure out who they are is fairly simple. If you ask somebody to recall, say, for example, how many windows in your house? Can you count those for me? And I'll tie this into the networking in a minute. If their eyes go up, and we've all been in classrooms where the teacher asks something and most of the class looks up to the ceiling like there's an answer from God that's going to come down. There isn't, right? Those people are wired visually. They're visual learners. If they just scan their eyes horizontally, left and right, they are kinesthetic learners. They need a sense of feel or emotion. If they look down to the left, they're aural learners. They need to have your sound tell them what you want to have. So, okay, if you're in a networking event, like Dick and I are going to talk about here, is going to be a lead-in. When you first meet somebody, you can ask them a question about, where's your office? And watch where their eye goes. Or is it by Washington Street? And they'll look they'll look up or pan or look down, accessing the data to help answer your question. Now, if they're a visual person and you're a visual person, you guys are going to talk right on the same plane. You're both going to be motoring along high speed. For example, think this out, Dick and Mark. You know Gordon, right? What's Gordon? He sits there and looks at you the whole time you're talking, never says anything, right? Nothing, like, hello, are you there? And then he'll talk in a low, monotone voice. He's a highly emotional person inside. You just can't tell it. So as a visual, you don't want to moat along and I got this and I got this and we can go do this and this and this and this. Hold the phone, folks. Slow down. We're going to slow it down. We're going to talk somewhat monotone. We're going to chill out. And then all of a sudden we start to connect, you see. Okay? And so if they, again, recall data, if they're going to horizontally pan their eyes, you got a kinesthetic person. Now, if you're a kinesthetic person yourself, you're just going to be like, wow, where have you been all my life, so to speak, right? But if you're a kinesthetic person and you're going to talk to a visual person, you better pick your speed up. You better get that cranking, because that visual is going to be bored to death of you talking nice and slow and don't I have a wonderful website, and everybody wants to have video on their website. And they need to have these lists. You go, oh my God, put me to sleep. Somebody shoot me. Where's the cyanide pill? Did they give me that at the door? You know, kill me, right? So, and then if they look down and to the left, you got an Oriole, which means when you speak, you must use sentence intonation and power, and in other words, amplitude up, smooth it down. Sentence intonation, up and down. Really pronounce those words that you want them to hear. This is the greatest thing since sliced bread, versus saying it's the greatest thing since sliced bread. You know, so you can tune your pitch to their learning neurology, and then you get some really high, what we call in engineering, data rates, transferring information from the speaker to the listener. And so with that, we're going to go backwards in time to Tuesday night. Dick and I, we were at a double chamber networking meeting. I guess Dick and I are going to be known as the Coachella Valley Velociraptor Hunting Group. because we seem to hunt like that. And Gordon, the monotone Gordon, watched us in just awe as we worked the room. But basically, we were different. And basically, we had a cool story to tell. And basically, we weren't selling anybody, but we were selling them with our message, our story. So, Dick, you wanna talk about the double Coachella chamber and the Indio chamber mixer?
Sure. You know, I guess you like it. You know, we talked about the native marketing. You're putting out public relation blurbs that are really selling. I kind of liken what we did Tuesday night and what I did Wednesday night to a similar thing, but it's native selling, because I'm an independent associate for Legal Shield, and I went to 2 mixers and talked to maybe 25 people, and I never once led with Legal Shield. I led with the Coachella Valley podcast website that Peter developed, and I'm working with him in partnership to go to the chambers and go to businesses and offer them the opportunity for free to do a video to tell the story of their company, and that's what we're looking for. If Frank was on, he would agree with us for a change, that your story is the most important thing you have to get out. And what Peter has developed in a website and all allows business people to go ahead and tell them for free, and they own the video. We put it on our site. They can put it wherever they like, and the reaction is nothing short of amazing. I've said it to both nights I come home and talk to my wife about what happened and all. It's a different feeling. It's different aura. I meet somebody, and I say, I'm Dick Bentley. What do you do? The thing, I'm independent associate of Legal Shield, and I give them, the business card that was shown on previous podcasts, which is a tremendous business card. But I'm just like the other 40 people in there, trying to get leads and talk to people and get them to have interest in my company. With this, I didn't talk about Legal Shield, but the 2 people, and that came later. But I felt as a marketer of legal services, I had the most productive 2 nights I've had ever going to lectures, and I think it's kind of like selling, because what we're doing is we're offering people a tremendous service, a tremendous opportunity, and we're building relationships, and that's what network marketing is about. It's building relationships. It's a two-way conversation, just like social media. And the mistakes that I've made and a lot of people make is they make it a one-way conversation about their company themselves. Here we're building relationships, and I'm not going to say what companies, because I don't when we don't have it, we finalize nothing, and I don't think it'd be right to name the names. But part of my offering is a group benefits program that can offer their employees. And I had this one lady who was employees, yes, the employer to employees, and this one lady who was very high up in the company said, after talking about our podcast, say, listen, I see you have group benefits here. I'd like to introduce you to my human resource person. I said, that's great. I appreciate that. Let's talk about the videos, get those going, and then we can continue on with that. Never happened before in my life. So I don't want to go on being long-winded here, but I'm really excited about this opportunity. One, because I do think it provides a tremendous service to the business marketplace in Coachella Valley, be it Chamber of Commerce, Rotaries, or any other business organization or home-based business people like myself to get their story out. And two, I think it provides Peter and myself a tremendous benefit of building our network. And that's really what our world is about. Build your network, build relationships, talk with people. And if there's an interest, they'll come through and say, hey, I'd like to talk to you about Legal Shield. Again, Frank would be, when he listens to this, he's going to be shocked because, he's always saying, don't go to them, make them come to you. Well, this kind of does that. So I'm really excited about it. And I guess I've talked long enough, Peter. So, but I'm really motivated on this.
You can be as long-winded as you want, but I've said for a long time that podcasting, if used properly, opens the doors for business because you're getting to know people. And frankly, I mean, look, there's a huge organization here in the Valley that we met the CFO. No names, right?
Yeah.
And
right.
She's taking our calls and she's taking our emails. Now, where does that happen? I mean, you would have to battle your way up, and then she's turning you over to an HR. There's got to be several thousand employees in this thing. You know, yeah. It's a mother load all over a podcast, and building that relationship and having that conversation, and not necessarily selling them on your services, but selling them about what video can do for them and their organization. Right. Pretty cool.
Right,
anyway.
and I want to, our mission statement's pretty clear of what we're trying to accomplish there, and our goal is to provide this video podcasting benefit, help them develop the story. Peter will do a lot of the interviewing and help them develop the story, and our secondary benefit is it helps us build a network. We're not going to go out and try and, every person that does a video, I'm not going to sit down and try to get them to do Legal Shield. They'll be aware of what I do, and if they're interested, they'll talk to me. And that's kind of what we're looking at.
Yeah, exactly. Mark, you had a question?
I'd like to say, again, back to that conversion, seems like our theme today, that, okay, one, like you said, to reach this person, this HR person, it's a 1% conversion to reach that person. Mm-hmm. Now, with your podcast and everything, your conversion rate has just gone up.
Yep.
Meaning,
oh yeah,
you're meeting this person not on a sales angle. You're meeting this person on sort of on a personal angle. Your conversion, because you're meeting this person with a relationship and a conversation, your conversion rate has gone up. And I think you guys hanging out with me, you rarely hear mentioning anything about sales. From me personally, I just like to meet people on a friendly basis, on a casual basis, and then get to know them, and then I mention what I do.
Right.
Yeah. The other thing that is at the bottom or the heart of what we're trying to do as well, as I get to know Bruce, for example, and I run across businesses that I think need Bruce's services, I'll network him. And what better way to, when we're doing these podcasts, to get to know these people and say, I have somebody you need to talk to. I'll have this guy Bruce could give you a shout. Listen to what he has to say. He's a very interesting guy, and basically you can I think you got something to talk to him about. You know, that networking of your clients for no gain of your own, I think, is also priceless to build that communication stupid, you know, and that relationship that they'll only say, "Oh, that guy's nice. Hey, you got a website?" You know, and they'll start selling your services because you're a nice guy and you're helping them. They're going to help you. That goes all the way back to day one when we're making weapons and you do better arrows and I do better spears, you know, and we start helping each other kill and eat and survive. And it's almost all the way back to, you know, Stone Age 101. But that's the way we do business, is by who we know first, what we know second. And I think that the chance of helping companies actually put video on their front page that tells their story kills a whole bunch of birds with one stone. So I'm excited by that.
Yeah, I'm reading a book right now, browsing through about 7 books, but there's one called Networking is Not Work. It's communicating. And one of the things they're talking about is that all too many people spend all their time at networking being Mr. Me, and talking about what they do and a whole bunch of things. And that's just wonderful, but no one particularly gives a shit unless they know you better. And so I've sort of shifted a little bit of my approach, and I do it naturally, or I try and do it naturally anyhow, you know, is not to bury someone with business exit strategy, is to talk about a bunch of things and, you know, try and, you know, find topics of common interest. And what the real thing is he's talking about is building up a network of people that can help you, but more importantly, people you can help to ingratiate yourself so that they want to be with you. And so you're doing exactly what's in this book. If anyone's interested in the title and the author, I can send it to you. It's another Amazon $2.99 special.
Yeah, send that to me so I can put it up on the website on the podcast page, because I didn't know anybody wrote that before, but yeah, we're living proof of trying to instigate that and get it forward. And even in my website business, every website that I do, I get to know those people really, really well. And I'll network them constantly. And you'd expect no less from somebody who cares about helping you build your business. Not being a pirate or a partner, I should probably give that lesson. There are only 2 types of people in the world. Pirates and partners. They start with the same letter P. They have uniquely different ways that they interact with their life. A pirate will use you, and when you're all done and your burned out body, you'll kick it to the curb and go to the next. A partner will help build your business essentially, and in turn you'll appreciate them and do the same thing in their business. So pirates and partners are my pirates and partners. So anyway, and now Dick, talk a little. I wasn't with you last night, but talk about last night's experience.
Well, last night again was very similar to the Tuesday night, and you know, I've been using that philosophy that Bruce just talked about. I may have read the same book because it was there. You know, where I always ask people what they're doing. You know, questions about themselves. Now with the opportunity to talk about Coachella Valley podcast, I have something to talk about that is going to help them. And the reaction I get, again, I will go through, but I have set, after we get off today, I have to set 7 people links to our podcast, our website rather, that are very interested in joining up and doing a video podcast. And there's one huge, again, no names, huge company in the Valley with tremendous resources that wants to see it and take a look at it. They think there could be a value to them, and I just find it's a much different mindset going to these mixers. It's a much different reception you get from people in talking about it, and I find it much more rewarding. You know, I've sold all my life. You know, there's the saying, you can't teach an old dog tricks. Well, this is one old dog that has been taught a lot of new tricks over the last year that I've known you, Peter, and this latest one is just it's my whole philosophy. And I'm not selling at all anymore. I'm really trying to meet people, see if they're interested in the opportunity. Explain it to them. Explain, what what do you need to do it? Well, you need to, need a computer with a camera and get on Google Hangout, and Peter will do interviews. I'll be on and ask some questions, and we will tell your story. And people just look at me, wow, and for free. They look at you like, wow, wow, it's very, very enticing. So last night was the exact same as Tuesday night. I've talked to, a lot of people. I got a lot of work to do when I get off and follow up. The one lady that you and I spoke to, we together on Tuesday, advised it would be better if we did it the 23rd, and there's 12, 15 people in the organization, guaranteed that they'll all be there and listen and probably make videos with us. So it's just a continuation. I'm not sure where I'm going next week, but I'll be somewhere, and looking forward to doing it again. Yeah.
Yeah. It is amazing the response that we've been getting. I mean, and once they understand what you're doing, they're all excited about being part of that, and they should be.
Yeah.
I mean, and they should be. But Becky, I talked to. She's kind of the second in command over the Coachella chamber. She said she was trying to figure out how to get videos up like that, and just couldn't do it. And now the current tools and stuff that we've been working with, it's tech time, what I like to call tech time. It takes time to do it, and there's a few moving parts, no question. But once people start to see the power of telling their message, not selling, telling their story, right? And getting that communication up so people can honestly listen and learn who they are without selling. It's going to be a phenomenal difference, I think, in the version like Mark talked about, but building more clients. And of course, if they want to start their own podcast show, we're more than willing to show them how to do that to some degree. We can't get bogged down forever in doing free stuff for everybody, but certainly on the first blush of getting the low-hanging fruit, people that have a webcam, people that have a camera, people have a web connectivity and that we can work with. Those are the first ones. Later, we're going to actually have to go out with a camera, most likely.
Yeah.
But that's going to be so labor intensive. So I want to pick the low-hanging fruit first and get it going for those that can. Right. We even talked about I have a spare webcam. It's moving that around to people if they don't have one. So there's some technical gear and some moving parts to it, but that's kind of cool.
Yeah.
Okay.
Peter, I think just to wrap it up from my end, every company, or most every company, has a mission statement, and I just would like to, I read like all of us. I read a lot. I watch videos. I try to do self-improvement every day, and the things come down to that. If you read enough books and you watch enough videos, it all comes down to telling your story, and it starts with your mission statement. And I think every company should really look at their mission statement. And I just want to read this paragraph. It says, a mission statement defines what an organization is, why it exists, its reasons for being. At a minimum, your mission statement should define who your primary customers are, identify the products and services you produce, and describe the geographical location to which you operate. And one other thing is that if your company has employees, they should be as schooled on your mission statement as you are, and all to relate to your customers. And this goes down to selling or telling rather a consistent story about your company. And it starts with your mission statement. So I would advise everybody, take a look at your mission statement, make sure it hits those criteria, and that's start of your story for the videos. And that's it for me. So.
Yeah, let me piggyback in on that. We're probably going to have some page up on our site to teach people what they want to talk about. But basically, we want to remind everything that people that benefits sell and features don't. You don't want to go through a bunch of features about your company, but why should I? What is the benefit of me doing business with you? What are you bringing to the table? What's in it for me? And again, it's not a sales pitch. It's your story that you get to tell why you started what you did.
Right.
Why you started what you did, and why you like to work with people, and what benefits you bring them, and that's going to sell. So,
right.
All right, now let me preface Mark's a segment coming up here. Mark ended up getting a chance to do a video for somebody. And he doesn't have high-end cameras like I do and all that stuff. But we talked about a while back a cell phone. There's no reason why you can't use your cell phone. So a little bit of counsel on my part about audio is king. You can have the greatest video in the world, but if you have lousy audio or audio, you hear bings and bangs and uhs and traffic and whatever, all that's a distraction. Audio is the most important part about a video. So I asked him if he had a tripod. He didn't have a tripod, but his two sons are like, and he's a little bit of like a MacGyver. I said, well, go look around your house and build yourself a stand to do your video. And so I'm going to turn it over to Mark to tell us what he did.
Okay. How am I doing? Everyone can hear me?
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
Okay, great. Again, as far as applications, for me personally, it is very difficult. I'm not an application type of person. I'm more, visual in my brain, but then to apply it is not easy for me. So I had a client that wants to do a video, and Peter's told me, well, you do it. And I'm thinking, how am I going to do this? So he gave me some instructions, and again, like he said, the first thing we need to do is start with the tripod. So my two sons and I have two Lego experts, and I asked them, can you make a tripod out of Lego? And it took my son 3 minutes to build it, literally 3 minutes. And so, it works very well. I've already used it. Now you guys let me know, because I'm having a little difficulty seeing on my end.
I'll share my screen with you so you can see what I'm looking at. How about that?
Now I'm seeing a little more. Okay, now I think we got it, huh?
Yep.
Yes, we do.
Almost got it. Yes, we do. Okay, let me do this. Okay. I think we got it, huh?
There you go. It's a little on the blurry side, but I'll have the video that it shot up on the website too.
And I think this tripod has something that I know Peter can use, because it's mobile, meaning you can film and still move the tripod at the same time. And I think at a regular tripod you can't move, right, Peter?
Well, you can move it, but not like that. The ability to slide that around is pretty nice.
Yeah. So you guys can see me all right?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so you see the tripod.
Very good.
It's very durable as far as wind is concerned. And also, the one challenge we had with our little squeeze mechanism, it was a little too tight for the camera. It might break the camera, so my son put a Lego in between there, so it fits real nice. You see that?
Very nice. Very nice.
Okay, and then what I meant by this is we can move it. You kind of see that?
Oh, yeah.
So while we're filming, I think, again, you might hear some sound of the movement, but just a simple turn can do wonders. Maybe show a little background or a little something.
Yep. Yep.
And it works. And I think we can put some wind into this, and it's pretty steady.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. The one thing that does that a tripod doesn't do, you're right, Mark, is that if you're going to move the position of the tripod, you have to lift it up, move it, and pop it back down, and all that's going to be in the video.
Right.
Where this, if it's just sliding along a plane, you don't even see that. And if you're going to do a double interview, you can easily just turn it to one person, slide it to the next one, slide it to the next one.
Right.
And, as long as they're sitting right there in front of that table or whatever your flat surface is. Very good job.
You got some mobility.
You betcha. And that gave you a new product line to sell.
How much you charge? How much you for?
Well,
I was gonna say, how much you charge it for? I could those.
I'm sure we'll talk to my sons about it, and they'll come up with a number amount.
Oh, that'll be
fun. Work very well. And what it is, the one piece is a piece to this Star Wars destroyer.
Yeah.
Those are their fuel tanks to the Star Wars destroyer. If you really want to know what those are.
Well, make sure and bring it to
Well,
our entrepreneur club meeting luncheon a week after on a week from this Monday, a week from Labor Day.
yeah,
Bring
And
that to the
then,
show.
yeah.
and I think, are we
Right.
able to post a video of the boys making it?
Yes, right,
Okay.
right below this video will be their video. Okay, on the web
Right.
page, right below this
So
video.
I did my video, and I did a video of the boys putting it together.
Yeah, and we do have your permission as a father to put them on our website, right?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, good. All right, good. All right, Bruce.
But I think,
Oh, I'm sorry.
but I,
Go ahead,
but I
Mark.
think what the example is, even if somebody is not a good application type of person like I am, you could dig down and still do this. It's not that difficult. And even, we did a couple downloads, and so then you have to download a few programs. If you have a basic internet ways of doing things, you can do this.
Yeah, for those once the video's on your cell phone, how do you get it off your cell phone? Well, if you're on a data plan, you certainly don't want to upload it to a Dropbox. That just eats you alive. But all your phones come with a data cable, power cable, and data cable connected, and you can plug it into your computer, and it looks just like a hard drive, and you're off and running. And just drag it onto your desktop or laptop, and upload it goes. So, all right, Bruce, I hadn't had a chance to talk with you. Do you have a little section to talk about?
Yeah, I do. I sent you a quick email, right at the 11th hour this morning. It's sort of an ad hoc topic that I've used before. It has nothing to do with finance, which is great. I love that. It's something that I learned from a couple of marketing people. Pretty interesting thing. Basically, it's one of the most important metrics that you can have in a business is a thing called Net Promoter Scores, and I'll get into that in a little bit. But Net Promoter Scores, I don't know if any of you have heard about it, but the thought for today is, what is the ultimate question I should be asking my clients? And this isn't just for us to ask our clients, but for our clients to ask about their clients when you're trying to help companies do better. And I'm not sure if anyone wants to play the game of what's the most important question. I'll cut to the chase. And the answer to that is, how likely is it that you would recommend me, my firm, to your friends and colleagues? That's really the simple question. And what you do is you do a very simple survey of 2 or 3 questions, and the one question that matters in the survey is, how likely would you be to recommend me to your friends and clients, or friends and colleagues? And what you're trying to do is identify detractors versus promoters. And key areas that really matter are things like retention, the degree of a customer's loyalty, margins, the impact of competitors' pricing, annual spend, revenue volumes relative to other customers, cost to serve, word of mouth. Word of mouth is really as important as anything. It's sort of the crux of networking too. Are your customers for you or against you? And trying to figure out where that goes. And the book, and I don't know if this is going to show up on my screen real good, but probably not. But the book
that's not bad.
Okay. So I'm trying to get it there, and anyone who's interested, just give me a whistle, or I'll share it with all of you. But the book is called The Ultimate Question 2.0 by a fellow named Fred Richfield. And what it talks about is how net promoter companies thrive in a customer-driven world. And what he does is, a lot of what's going on is, how well you serve your customer. And so there's a series of companies in here, and again, I'm trying to do a semi-visual thing, without the graphics. But he talks about companies like SAS and Southwest Airlines versus, say, Delta, and Harley Davidson versus, say, Aprilia, and USAA Credit versus Visa, Apple versus Dell, FedEx versus DSL, Enterprise versus Avis. And what he's talking about is, if you have a perception about these companies, you'll find that your perception is pretty much validated by their net promoter scores. And what is a Net Promoter Score? It's a fairly simple calculation. The promoters of your business are people who are going to score you 9 or 10 on a 10 scale about how likely they are to recommend you. Someone who's passive is someone who's basically supporting you, but it's not a glowing kind of thing. It's sort of a, to use the word passive, and that's someone who give you a 7 or an 8 on a Net Promoter Score of 10. Detractors is someone who's less likely or unlikely to recommend you, and that's anyone who's 6 or lower. And to come up with your Net Promoter Score, what you essentially do is you say, okay, anyone who rates me a 9 or a 10 is a plus point. Anyone who's a 7 or an 8 is a 0. Anyone who's 6 or under is a -1. And you roll those numbers up to come up with what your Net Promoter Score is. And what's interesting is some of the companies, like SAS and Southwest. SAS is a 66 Net Promoter Score. Harley is an 81. These are percentages. USAA is 82. Apple's 66. Enterprise is 25. Just as and I don't have all the comparisons, but just to give you a feeling of comparison, Avis is -32.
Oh,
so the difference between Enterprise and Avis is incredible. And the national NPS average score is +5 to +10. So that's saying on a scale of Harley Davidson being an 81 and Apple being a 66, the national NPS average is between 5 and 10. I didn't know very much about this. Matter of fact, I would go back a step further. I knew nothing about this until I ran into a fellow who was in marketing and was helping us do some evaluation in my most recent company in Indiana, where we were trying to buy out dental labs. And the key part of a dental lab is quality of product and service. Pricing is the elephant in the room, but when it boils down to it, your service and the quality of your product will matter. And so what we did is we actually had our 3 core labs that were going to be our key platform labs go out and do a survey to determine what Net Promoter Scores were. The industry average was below 20. The company that had the best name and best reputation in the dental lab service business was 22. Our 3 labs, and this was sort of a coincidence and a very happy coincidence, but these 3 labs all came up with 45 Net Promoter Scores in an industry where the average is below 20. And so what it helped us decide was that the people that we were looking at and thinking about making partners with us all were well above average in this Net Promoter Score. And so it's just another measure, but it's a rather interesting measure because what it says to you is, who matters to me more than anyone else? My existing clients and what they think. Are they loyal to me? Do they give a damn about me? And if the answer is yes, this is a fairly simple way to find out and do a bit of a quantification. And I've found out it's magic. And what I just gave you in the last 7, 9 minutes, whatever it was, is the gist of what's in this book for $18.99 that you can buy on Amazon or something and read 250 pages when really you need to only focus on a chapter. So if anyone's interested in it, go get a sample of the book, look at it, or talk to me a little bit more, and I can share some things about it. Again, I'm a finance guy, not a marketing guy, but when I see the light pretty brightly, and this was something that really was an eye-opener for me, and something that I continue to use and espouse ever since I started getting exposed to it, about 7, 8 years ago.
That's pretty fascinating stuff. Anybody got a question on that? Dick? Nope.
No,
okay.
No, I'd never heard of it expressed that. Pretty interesting. Yeah.
That is interesting.
The great question is, would you recommend me? That's the bottom line.
It's incredibly simple. You're asking 3 questions, 2 of which are just there for show. The question that matters is, would you recommend me to someone else? And that's the real test.
That's interesting, Bruce. Now, I go back to my helping computer repair store here in Indio. It'd be interesting at the very end of their training, whomever it is to have a script where they can ask the question, right?
Yep.
And it'd be interesting to pick that off. Now, You had some of the examples you talked about. Of course, the scores were 40 or 80, but you're
Yeah.
talking on a scale of 1 to 10 or 0 to 10. How do you normalize
Well, it's
that?
0 to 10, and then you come up with your percentages and and convert it to a 100 scale.
Oh, okay. So an 84 would be a point or an 8.4 on the scale of 0 to 10, right?
Yeah. What it is let's look at, say, somebody that did an 80. What that essentially means, boiling it down, is 80% of the people were supporters, hardly, and most of the rest were passive people, and you had very few detractors. You can't have a whole bunch of detractors that create minus numbers to come up with that and come up with a percentage that high. So what it says is most of the people that they're dealing with are supporters versus detractors.
Yeah, excellent. Okay, good. All right, good. Well, we're coming up on the top of the hour. Anybody got any comments or stuff before we close off?
Yeah, one thing, Dick, when you were talking about you've got some people that you're going to send some links to, I'm sort of catching up. I missed the beginning, a little bit of the beginning, because I have an air conditioning guy in here because I lost my air conditioner, the end of last week. If you wouldn't mind sharing that link with me so I can sort of catch up and just check it out, I'd be grateful.
Sure.
Yeah, and I missed your spiel.
The link will be to...
Yeah, I was in Orange County all day Tuesday and didn't get in until about 10 o'clock, and so I had planned to go to that Indio Coachella chamber meeting and just couldn't fit it into my day. Is that a chamber that's worth? Sure. How do you put them on a scale versus La Quinta, Indian Wells, Palm Desert, Palm Springs? How do you rate them overall? Because we can bleed through our eyes if we start trying to do all these chambers.
Right. I find Indio to be consistent with the La Quinta. Very, very good group of people, very open. The Coachella one, it was the first time I met people from there, so I can't really say. They seem good, but
seems like it's real small.
I think with all the potential out that way, it's not as small as you think. It's pretty big.
It's 186 people, the Coachella Valley one. But good and bad news. The good news is you don't have many people to contact. I mean, it's a small group of people. You can sort through who your prime target might be far faster than you can a 1,000-member group, for example. So to some degree, the smaller chambers are good news and bad news.
Well, I tried to. I tried to check who their members were, and the list. I guess maybe they don't have it set up that way. The list looked really small, and I guess it must be incomplete because I didn't get any kind of sense of bolus or mass by perusing through their website.
Yeah, I talked to the president, and the one cool. I met Becky there, very switched on person, really trying to help. Boy, and India is very active as well. So which I think some of the most important pieces of the pie are the chambers active? Do they have members that can really help you find who you need to meet? That means at the chamber residence itself, do they have active people? You can walk in and use it. And they seem to be pretty spiffy about that. And, of course, they're going to be coming on our podcast with us. So, yeah, I think that'll be pretty cool.
Okay.
All right.
So make sure I make it next meeting then.
Okay.
Yeah, Indio.
I'm sorry I'm cutting out a little early. I got to be up in Palm Desert in a few minutes.
Right.
Okay, well say good night then, Bruce, and we'll keep going on a little bit then.
Have a great weekend, good holiday weekend. I'll talk to you all next week.
All right, thanks, Bruce. Dick, I'm of course prone for Indio because I'm right there, but I think La Quinta and Indio are really, really active in the valley here. Now that's not to say the others aren't. I just don't know it to be true yet. You've been around the Palm Springs ones and some of the other ones, but I can honestly say Indio's kicking it.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, they're all active. They're all good. Some are a little bit more open to people like myself who may not be a member come and meeting with their people. And I look at if you look at where growth is going to occur in the Coachella Valley, it's going to be in the eastern section of it, and that's where new people are coming in. So you know, I would be hesitant to say one's good or one's bad. I think they all are trying to grow their businesses, and you know, I'm pretty happy working with all of them. So there's
Oh,
one
yeah.
which I won't mention I don't work with, but other than that, work with all of them.
No, I think there's plenty of opportunity to join good chambers here in the Coachella Valley, you know, and to some degree
Yeah,
you want to join one
the,
that fits your emotional and business model to some degree, you know.
yeah, right, absolutely, yep. Well, I
And
joined the La Quinta ones. I felt they offered the best opportunity for me to network. An ambassador there, so getting involved in, you know, other excuse me, other functions, and you know, helping, you know, do things. So, but I think that, you know, again, just as we got come to wrap up, from my point of view, I think, you know, we talked about what we're doing with Coachella Valley podcast. I think anyone going to these mixers really need to ask themselves going in, you know, what is their goal for walking in the door? How, you know, what's the message, and how are they going to deliver it? I think, you know, to Bruce's point, which I've talked about earlier on this earlier podcast, is it's not about you, it's about them when you walk in the door, and how do you deliver a message? We have a unique vehicle that allows us to talk to people, I think, and relieve the stress of, oh God, he's trying to sell me something. Because
hmm
that, you know, everybody walks in the door, and I'm the same way, and I'm trying to meet people, and all those people walking up and hand me cards, and I do this, this, and this. I say, oh God, you know, don't drive me nuts here. It relieves that stress immediately, and I think that's the key point.
Yeah, one of the things I'll point back to is, you know, our cards that we use. I'll use your surfboard here again for people
Yeah,
that have never seen one. When you hand that out to somebody, it's an immediate conversation point. Actually takes them away from
yeah,
Legal Shield, but it talks about what's on that CD-ROM and
right.
gives you a chance to pick up that conversation. So, you know, for the
Yeah,
viewers, that's called a door opener in some worlds. But you know, if you have something that's really unique like that, which a business card should be, just pipe up a conversation. That
yeah.
starts the foundation to build a relationship with
Gave
them,
I
and
I gave
you're off and running.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
I gave one of those to a gentleman last night. He looked at it and he just says, "Wow." That was his reaction. He read it, he looked at it, and he said, "If you have my card, would you follow up with me on Friday?" I said, "Certainly." And that was all. That was all discussed. So
Yep, yep,
it's a
yep.
great
There's
door
Mark's
opener.
Mark showing the
Yeah,
social media one. Yep. It is amazing what they do, but again, you know, I should probably have a business card lecture next week. But I
yeah,
think most people that listen to us have heard it before. Have a card that's unique that can
mm,
pipe up a conversation, and they
yeah,
make some pretty crazy cards out there. You can have them in
yeah,
shapes. You can have them fold out, fall down,
yeah.
talk to you. Matter of fact, I should be able to have one of the talking brochures in my hands today. So that'll be fun to see on the show next
Yeah,
week.
great.
Mark, you want to close with anything?
I just want to again say thank you to all. Very good information.
All right. Say goodnight, Dick.
Good night, Dick.
All right. Thanks for everybody for joining us. Hang on, guys. That'll end our show.